Hey, welcome to your day off. My name is Corey, and this is the Your Day Off podcast. And today I am joined by my friend Gabby Bach. Gabby is the managing senior editor at Beauty Launchpad. Gabby, welcome, man.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm pretty stoked, man. First off, not to bore people with the weather, but man, it feels like our weather finally broke here in the DC area. How you guys doing in Chicago?
Yeah, it's good. It's like I think I was driving yesterday and looked down at the thermometer in my car and it said it was 70 degrees, which isn't like maybe entirely accurate because there's it's whatever, like my car was sitting in the sun, but I just saw that and I was like, "Oh, that's so nice," because I'm used to around this time of year like it's snowing, like cuz that's happened before.
Actually, one of the coldest I've ever been. I was in Chicago. I was at the alternative hair show. I don't know, 112 years ago because that's when it was there. But it was like definitely one of the coldest I'd ever been. That wind was coming across. It was at the legendary Chicago Theater, which is absolutely a gorgeous theater. And what's really cool too is we were we were in the pit. We were under the stage there in the back room at the Chicago Theater, and just to like walk through those hallways and just think about the history of every person that ever walked it was just, for me, it was a very emotional kind of like real moment.
I love the Chicago Theater. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous venue, and I'm jealous because I would love to be like backstage at that venue and get to walk around and see the whole inside of it because I've gone to so many shows there and love that venue. So
That's pretty cool. It's to me, it's like more the most legendary like theater in the country, because there's not a show that or a movie that's ever happened in Chicago where that wasn't like front and center. It's always in
yeah,
like the opening of all those like those shows and stuff. There's always
yeah,
the Chicago theater lit up in, I guess it's LED lights now, but it's pretty cool.
yeah, it's gorgeous. And I love to like when I was in college, my like I lived on State Street, so like right in the heart of the South Loop, and from the very top floor of our building, because we had like 18 floors in our building, I could see the like big, yeah, sign for the Chicago Theater. And it was just sometimes like going up there like while I'm working on homework, or whatever, and just seeing it. It was just always so beautiful.
It's pretty cool. That brings you right into the city, doesn't it?
Yeah, even like from my room, I could see the Sears Tower because that's what we call it in Chicago, not the Willis Tower, the Sears Tower. And I just, yeah, I loved like living in the heart of the city.
Is
Anyway,
Sears open anymore? Didn't they close down?
the department store, yes, but the like big tower that like competes with the Empire State Building in terms of like height has always been called the Sears Tower. And then I think it got renamed, I don't know, maybe a decade ago or something. And everyone in Chicago was like, no, we don't accept that.
Just the
And
Sears Tower. Is it the same
yeah,
Sears as the department store?
it may be the same family that owned it, I would imagine. Yeah. And then like the family sold it, I would imagine. I think that's what happened. I feel like a bad Chicagoan for not knowing that. I just feel like I know the origins around the names and the
Well, next
changing of it.
podcast,
But
you're gonna have to give us the history of the Sears family.
yeah, I'll do that. I'll do my research.
It's so silly. Hey, tell us about our guest today.
Yeah, okay. That I feel like that was just such a crazy detour. Anyway, so our guest I met about a year ago at America's Beauty Show, where I met the organization they're involved with at America's Beauty Show, and we started talking, networking a little bit, and had a very wonderful Instagram live that you can go back. That's on Beauty Launchpad's Instagram page if you do so want to watch it. And This organization is called the Green Beauty Community. They're essentially again, like a community builder for encouraging sustainability in the industry, which I think is so important. And I think if you can tell with some of the guests that we've had on this podcast, I'm always very drawn to the people in the hair industry who are just building community and just creating opportunities for people to connect through a common purpose or a common initiative. And so I really, really love what it is they're doing. They're a nonprofit, they're with Pivot Point, and they really are about how can we inspire, educate, and empower hair professionals to be more sustainable in the industry, which I really, really love. So without further ado, let's bring in our very lovely guest, Hannah Craik.
Hi guys. Thanks for having me on.
What's up, Hannah? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. This is quite the honor to be here,
Oh,
honestly.
oh, it's silly. It's an honor for us to be with you. Anyone that's like kind of
Yeah.
like working with moving the industry into a better forward, we're big fans of. How you doing? What first off, where are you from?
So I'm in the Metro Detroit area in Michigan, which granted, it's no Chicago, but I will definitely say it is really truly having its renaissance era right now. And I think the cool part about Detroit is no matter how often this city gets knocked down, like the people are like, no, 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 we're going right back. So it's so cool to just to really watch it grow and thrive. And it, it was on a really good path before COVID, and now it's even on a stronger path. So it's really fun to see.
That's pretty awesome. I know that they got hit pretty hard, certainly, through the '80s and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see that they're kind of rebounding. I know, like a couple years ago, or a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, like you could pick up homes like mega cheap there. So it's cool that that the investment is being made in those communities into revive those things as well. How'd you find the hair industry? How'd you get in the hair industry? Are you in the hair industry?
I am in the hair industry. I have been a licensed cosmetologist, gosh, 2013. So, I've been in for 12 years. And I was behind the chair for 7 before I made a pivot into I don't know, I personally started just recycling what was at the salon I worked at. It's a beautiful salon. It's like 20, it was 25 stylists, I believe, at the time, right? It always kind of varies. But we would have like a bag of trash a week of, I mean, not just trash, right? But at least just like the shampoo bottles, the color tube boxes, just kind of any of the packaging. And we weren't recycling it, and our recycling center is down the street. So I just said, okay, the people I worked for are so nice, because I did slightly bully them into just like put aside the bag so I can take these down the street. So, and I realized there weren't really a lot of resources for people that, for beauty professionals that just wanted to be more sustainable, kind of beyond, there's so many great companies out there like Green Circle and Sustain Beauty Co. that have really led that conversation. But, there wasn't really anything outside of that. So I quit my job, and I decided to full force focus into that, much to my parents' dismay, because I was living in their basement at the time, because it was during the pandemic era. But it's been really great. So, and there's obviously so many other people wanting to do the same thing in some capacity. So,
It's
right.
pretty
And
amazing.
that's kind of where, we were able to really find each other more so because of the green beauty community, which is
What?
really cool.
All right, I have some questions. Can we get into
Yeah.
what do we use in the salon every day that's recyclable? Like when you were collecting, what yesterday was trash, what inside of the of the everyday salon, what were you recycling?
So I would say the most like easily recyclable items, which is really just kind of what your city is able to recycle. Every facility is very different. Every I guess set of guidelines are very different, but generally what is the most recyclable is anything that's paper. Paper is, right, uh very easy, and very easy to make into other products as well too. So paper, um glass is infinitely recyclable, so that one's an easy one. Aluminum is infinitely recyclable, but because of like hair color and whatnot, it's actually I shouldn't say the hardest to recycle. It's just there's not like really curbside options for that.
Yeah.
And then shampoo and conditioner bottles are usually made out of, I'm trying to kind of keep it pretty easy here, but like a number 2 plastic, you find that in the bottom of your bottle with a little triangle and a number 2. That is usually that, and like number 1s, which are like water bottles, but some shampoo bottles are made out of number 1. Those are like the 2 easiest ones to that are like highly accepted. So yeah, I mean, yeah, lot of paper, Uh,
So like all the
yeah, a lot of
cardboard
paper and cardboard.
boxes.
Oh
What about
yeah.
what about the aluminum that the color comes in, like the tubes?
Yes, that too. You just, make sure you I think the best part, whenever I talk about like, yes, you can recycle your color tubes, it's kind of nice for the people that do because that color is not going to get wasted,
Yeah, right.
right? To try to recycle it, like, you want it to be very empty of product. Well, you're also you're going to use every last squeeze. But I guess that also depends if you're the salon owner or the hairstylist. I know that's kind of always the running joke, right? But
Well, it's always a running joke. And on that same joke, like we tried, I worked at a salon that we tried to like recycle like highlighting foils. And the expectation was to clean each foil off. And let me tell you, that didn't last but about 2 weeks. And then people were just like, we're not doing this.
oh no, that's like that's obscene to expect, to be honest. I personally take my foils to because I still do a little bit of kitchen hair, here and there. I take it to this scrap metal yard down the road, and you don't have to clean it or anything. You just kind of pile it up. Same with the color tubes, right? But have to be emptied. But they love it. I mean, I'm dubbed the foil girl there,
I'm sure
so
you
that's kind of
are.
fun.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's pivot into talking a little bit about the green beauty community and sort of, do you want to talk a little bit about, for those who maybe aren't familiar with the organization, how it got its start and sort of what it is?
Yeah. So the Green Beauty community is, well, we did start off as a social purpose corporation, and then just a little under a year ago became a nonprofit. So we are essentially a community of for networking stylists, any sort of beauty professional, honestly, brands, anyone that's in the beauty industry in some capacity, of how can we be more sustainable? How can we be more green? How can we be more clean? And honestly, how can we just be more responsible with our actions? I think that, I think there's just everyday actions that can be so easy to be sustainable. I feel like because there's now so much more conversation of, is this, am I actually being sustainable, or am I being tricked by corporations, or is this really going to help anything? It's expensive, why should I get into it? But there's really so many things of like, even just making sure you're using all your color, making sure, maybe unplugging your blow dryer when you're not using it. Just really little things of being conscious really makes a difference. And also really highlighting that small actions are huge impacts. Because, right, I mean, I believe there's, if I remember correctly, it's like 1 million salons and barbershops are in the US. Right. And that can be anywhere from, right, a single person to a salon of 25. If everyone is making even just a slight change of how they think about doing business, again, that's a huge impact. So again, bringing people together to really talk about what can we do in the salon and out of the salon. And then also, what do people need to really make it so it's easy? Is it more education? Is it certain resources or tools? And even just meeting each other before. So I kind of told a little bit about my personal story, but the founder of Green Beauty Community is Daniel Johnson, who is the founder of the Salon Chair Guys. And so they've been like pioneering this, in my opinion, for a long time. Daniel started out with repairing, barber chairs, and which is fantastic because, right, you don't have to keep buying new chairs. They're not just being thrown in the landfill. Where Daniel's got, like, he's so knowledgeable about this. I wish he was here to kind of talk about it, but also made a biodegradable cleaner for chairs and salons. So like we became Instagram friends because we were obviously into the same stuff, and we're all meeting each other on Instagram, right? It's beauty. It's like the wild, wild west of finding community and meeting each other. But it's hair professionals' favorite app. At least it was a few years ago. I believe it probably still is from what it looks like. But we just there's a couple of us that we where we found each other, and it was sort of like, wow, we it always feels really isolating to honestly to be, oh, you're my eco friend. So Hannah, look, I'm recycling, or please don't be mad at me because I'm, X, Y, and Z. So it's nice to find not just other people who, kind of have the same mindset of you as you in that way, but also to find other professionals in that way. Because again, I feel like it's pretty niche. Not saying I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I think, right, there's just not really a lot of conversation around it. So, Daniel had this really incredible business plan. I want to bring people together. I think that's, something that's missing in the industry. It needs to be agnostic. It needs to be community driven. I like to say it's very much grassroots. And getting together to, again, let's find each other and let's create the conversation and make it bigger. So we've been, we started out, us two and two other co-founders, Mizzy Heidman and Jacqueline Rodriguez, and we've just been trucking along ever since.
That's pretty awesome. So do you guys work with like, well, first off, I was happy to see that it wasn't just about recycling, right? There's more to what we do as an industry, and
yes.
with like water and all that good stuff. Like, do you work with like what are those nozzles called? The eco ones?
The eco heads. They're great.
Eco heads.
Yeah.
You work with them as well?
Yeah. Yes. We love talking about any sort of like building efficiency, which doesn't really, I mean, I feel like anything that's like eco-friendly doesn't ever really sound like super sexy, but it does sound great when from a business perspective, like, oh, you're using less, you have this, for example, right, an eco head shower nozzle, or a shower head nozzle, and it gives it's still like great pressure, it's filtered, so your hair is getting a really nice treat. I'm also saying this because I have hard water in our house and it's like the worst. So I have to like detox my hair every day. But so it's filtered. So great results. And you're also using less, like you're paying less for your water bill. So I mean, also what a great financial incentive long term, where you're not paying as much for your water bill or your energy bill because you switched all your light bulbs to LED. It's really fun to kind of talk about the financial incentives, I feel like, to professionals, because it's such an easy way for people to get on board, where it's like, oh, I could try doing this. And then you just kind of feel better, I feel like, right? The less you waste, everything just kind of looks a little bit cleaner, kind of smells a little bit nicer. I don't know. It's like, it's a lot of feel good.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna put some pressure on you. You ready?
Okay. Yes.
So, I mean, like you brought up the financial stuff, and like I've just never seen it kind of add up. Like I don't know how much an eco head is, but let's say it's $50 or something. Like how much water do I have to use in that head to actually make up the $50? Now, I would encourage people to do it for other reasons other than financial incentive, right? Because it's a really hard, if you're saving a quarter every month, that's a lot of months, before you kind of make up that $50 and take that $50 and put it over, 4 to 6 bowls, and by the way, again, I am encouraging that you do this, but the financial thing has never kind of made a lot of sense for me. Like even with like Green Circle, like it's expensive to do. And again, I don't think that there's a financial incentive there necessarily as much as there is just to do it.
Right. No, I think that's a really, really good point, because, and so I am also someone who who like, I also even love talking about like solar panels, and we have great, there was also a lot of great rebates here for like, EV cars or whatever for a while. So personally, I agree with you. But I don't love to bring people on because of financial incentives. I like to play with numbers, so that's always fun for me as like a game where it's like, oh, how much can I save? But I'm like, that's just my thing. But I agree. So long term, you start to a lot of these kind of what's the best way to put it? I guess like energy efficient or eco incentives or whatever, whether it is the shower head, whether it's LED lights. While it doesn't seem like a lot of these tools also are meant to last for a long time.
Sure.
So I mean, I just I feel like personally, and maybe this is just because I've been burned by Amazon so much, you still get a lot of hair, tools on Amazon and they break within like a year. So it's kind of like you're still spending all this money to keep getting these nozzles replaced that aren't really anything special in the first place.
Yeah.
And they're maybe they're half the price, but also you already buy two of them that you replaced in a couple of years. Well, you're already kind of at well, I already spent, $50 on eco heads, for example. So, and I feel like personally, it's like, while maybe it doesn't show up short term, I feel like, again, long term, it really adds up, whether it's energy, whether it's water. And that especially is how do I like say this? You do have to be in for the long game. And I'm not saying like, oh, you have to do this, or, like, not, maybe you found something a little bit different. Maybe you're like, I can only, maybe I can't invest in something like this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can later. But I feel like every dollar, at least for a salon owner or beauty professional, counts. I mean, right. I feel like we do a lot of, like, the joke is, right, like, girl math.
Love girl math.
We love girl math, right? Even a few dollars here and there. But if you're saving, let's say you're saving $25 a year on water. Okay, well, if you're adding that with you're saving $100 a year on lights, and that's still $125 a year. And after 5 years, I am not doing math. I don't know why I decided to do 125, but that's over $500 saved, right?
Listen, the lights make a lot of sense because LED lights use significantly less energy than an old I don't know, even a halogen bulb. I mean, I worked in salons that had halogen bulbs forever, so LEDs are significantly cheaper there. And also another thing to account into your girl math, which isn't really girl math, but LEDs don't put out any heat. Halogen bulbs put off a lot of heat. So, then you're cranking your AC up, because now it's competing with blow dryers and lights and stuff. So, that's also an energy save there. So with the light bulbs, it's a no-brainer to me. And to be honest, I just like LED lights better, than the other things. And if the other alternative is fluorescent, give me LED all day long, because fluorescent lights look horrid.
Yeah.
So, Gab?
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things to sort of plug Beauty Launchpad's March, April issue, which is out now. The Green Beauty community contributed to an article along with Green Circle Salons and Sustain Beauty Co. And I was sort of looking at, like, every year our March, April issue, we want to have some piece about sustainability. And we've done some articles about how to be a sustainable salon and different things. And I was like, how can I come at this with a little bit of a different approach from what it is that I want from the piece? And was looking at it, which is sort of similar to this conversation that we're having now, is that I think there's a sort of myth that being sustainable is an expensive investment to make, right? Like you mentioned, like changing out the shower heads and the light bulbs, or even if you want to invest in like solar panels, that type of money can add up and be very expensive. And so what are some like affordable ways, to make that shift, and like little things you can do, or looking at like changing the shower heads, like that seems like that's a lot of money, but in the long run, it's going to be a better benefit in talking about some of those things and resources and just like how can we sort of dispel this myth that being sustainable is something that is difficult to do, right? Like there's little easy things that you can do to kind of incentivize people. And it's a really great article. I recommend you go and check it out. I'm very grateful to everyone who contributed. It's I'm really happy with how the piece came out. But I think, yeah, if you want to talk about that a little bit, Hannah, to now get into a question of sort of, things you've done to sort of dispel that myth of like being sustainable and making that sustainable shift that it is like something that's super laborious.
So I just have to say, Gabby, I agree. Like that is one of my favorite articles, by the way, from Beauty Launchpad. I thought that the March April issue was incredible.
Thank you.
I know I said it to you yesterday. I would like to be sure everyone else hears it too. So yes, go
I
read it. It's
appreciate that.
great.
Which sidebar then before I let you answer the question, normally like I'll when I'm putting the piece together, will reach out to my designer or we'll talk about like what stock imagery do we want to use and we'll take stuff. And around the time that we first started collaborating, I think Daniel sent over some imagery to me and there's this gorgeous image, whoa, that he put together that is like the first image on that page. So it opens up the spread. And I think that's something Daniel illustrated, if I'm correct.
Yes. I'm going to plug in Daniel because truly he has he has done so much just as a single person, which is incredible, and has created like incredible art that I think the kind of beauty and I guess like beauty and eco kind of coming together. I think there's always been sort of like, it's not as glamorous or it's like not as pretty or whatever. He totally dispelled all of that. So I mean, he's made some really just beautiful pieces, but also to answer your question of dispelling the myth, like it has to, like that going eco can be more expensive. So I will say firsthand, and it might be a little bit different now, just kind of in, as March of 2025. But I'm just gonna say first off, there at least were, and I think it also depends because there's a lot of good forums and networks, but there's a lot, like I know personally in Michigan, there's a lot of really great sustainable business networking groups because it's not just networking, they're also there to support you. If you are trying to make sustainable changes, obviously, and I think still through the state, I know you could federally, not quite, I'm not really sure right now because a lot of things are frozen, but through the state, you could do a lot of EV, or not even EV, but like electrical rebates. So if you want to change something in your business or in your home, whether it is just like replacing to LED lights, that is something that they can help you with and support you with, or you get like a really big tax break. It just kind of, I think, depends on your location or sort of your financial income. But so there's a lot of great resources out there firsthand. So if you are trying to make like big physical changes in that way, like I think that's a really great place to start. I think switching, and it's interesting in beauty, or salons, because obviously like there is a lot of things that have to be disposable, right? Because obviously public health. But I still think there's a lot of great, like you can change things to just like reusable tools instead of having to I like to use I shouldn't say me, I'm like using them on myself, but like reusable, like the metal like cuticle pushers instead of like the orange wood sticks. Like that's an easy switch to where, okay, I don't have to keep buying, I don't have to buy a pack of these all the time to replace them. Even like, obviously, even like coffee mugs in your salon, instead of doing, reusable or plastic or, whatever, where you're just throwing it away right away. Okay, you can use a mug. So that up front, you are saving what, $20? I mean, I know it also depends on, how much coffee people are drinking or how much water. But like I remember the salon I worked at, like, and it was full service. And so we actually had 75 employees. Cups were cups, we went through cups quite easily in the front where which they had a lot of disposable cups, but like anything disposable that you can switch to a reusable option, I think is just always best. Or your towels are ratty and you need to get new towels or whatnot. Well, can you mend them a little bit so they can last even another 3 months? Like I just went through all my towels and I just snipped a few things. I just sort of, which you can find people for this too, but you can mend them a little bit just so they look a little bit nicer. Again, make them last a little bit. Use those old towels for cleaning instead of just, whatever, throwing them away. Like there's just so many opportunities of like, I can make this, I can reuse these items instead of just, buying a bunch of disposable things. And I think that's always been, I mean, I'm lazy, so I've always tried to hop on like the reusable use kind of reuse anything I can. So but again, even like what can you use in makeup that's more reusable than just I have to throw this away. You have to be sure, make sure you clean it, follow the rules, but yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. Or repair, again, you can find someone to repair your clippers instead of having to buy a new set once a year because you're just you're a clipper machine. Maintaining your tools really well. So you don't and I'm calling myself out because I think in my 7 years behind the chair, I went through, maybe like 6 blow dryers. And I know I probably could have not done that if I maintained them a lot better. Wipe off the lint, clean them off, replace anything that might need replacing. If it's starting to sound like it's dying a little bit, take it to someone. Like you can, there are just, again, so many ways that you can kind of, you can save money just because, you're being more conscientious.
More importantly, you can save the landfills there.
Yes, thank you.
I think with the blow dryers, like I think it's pretty simple, man. As long as you just keep by the way, I'm calling myself out too because I'm not as good as I should, but none of us are. But I actually think, you know what? Last year we had Danielle Kiesling on the podcast, and she's with Dyson. She launched the new Dyson blow dryer, and she was telling us because there was a lot of failures with the earlier Dysons. Certainly when they were used professionally, and they were and she was telling us that it's really important that you clean the filter every day. And I was kind of like, come on, Danielle, we're not cleaning the filter every day. But I can tell you that at least a couple times a week. I only work 4 days a week. So, every other day, essentially, I'm definitely cleaning the filter because I'll do that with any of my dryers now. You know what I mean? Like every 2 days. And it's pretty simple, to be honest. It takes less than 30 seconds to kind of do it, at least the way that I do it. And just for a quick thing, what I do is I either use like literally like mirror spray, like a glass cleaner, or I use just some kind of spray cleaner and I run it under hot water and the filter's as clear and clean as they can be. And sometimes if I need a little brush, I'll just get like I tend to use like a short bristle, like color brush and just clean out the holes, and that's it. And I'm telling you, if it takes 30 seconds, I'd be shocked, for those. But yeah, so, anyways, it's pretty simple to do. And according to Dyson, I don't know if this is true with all manufacturers, but according to Dyson, it'll save the dryer.
I think that's I'm glad that you said that, even explaining like how easy it can be. I think when we don't think about it for a while, and then also maybe we feel embarrassed where it's like, oh, well, now I'm making it this big thing that now I have to clean this. And it's going to take so long because I've, ignored it for so long. It's like, no, it's going to take 30 seconds. Even if you half-ass it and it's a 15-second clean, it's still better than it was.
But the machine's going to breathe better, right? Well, I mean, honestly, can I be honest here? Like, until I did my Barberside certification during COVID, I had no idea we were supposed to change that like once a day. I thought the Barberside was like once a week. And everybody that's listening in, don't give me shit because I knew you were all the same. I know you were cleaning. I know you were changing it once a week and not every day. That was a big like, oh, really? I had no idea. Tell me you knew.
I
You're lying.
I knew.
You're
I
lying
mean,
already.
I think it was always like, again, when you work with so many people, right? Some people changed it once a week, some people changed it every day, and then there's people in the middle. And then also, are you rolling in with your first client, or are you there 15 minutes early, right? Like,
Well,
but
if we can get into that for a sec, not that this has anything to do with green beauty community, but when I went from a salon to a suite, when I was in the salon, I would be like, 15 minutes early and I was on time kind of thing. But now in suite life, I'm there at least an hour before each one of my clients, and usually an hour after each one of my clients. So, this thought that suite life makes you more money. The truth is that yes, you definitely make more money. However, you're also earning that money. It ain't unearned money, I assure you that, because you're putting in a lot more time with all the other stuff. But that's my sidebar. Gabby.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Let's just pivot. I'm going to get us back on track. Talking again about the
There
green
is no
beauty
track
community.
on this podcast,
That
Gabby.
is true. I just feel like I'm making like I don't know what it is today. I feel like I'm making like hard pivots. I'm like I don't know what's happening. I'm trying to just having one of those days. Anyway, so to talk about the green beauty community some more, and some of the resources that you have the sustainability guidebook, which is some of the things that we talked about in some of our very early conversations. Do you want to sort of talk about like when you join the community or get involved, sort of what resources are available to people who join?
Yeah, so we've honestly got a lot of great resources. So I'm going to start with the guidebook. Thank you, Gabby. So we did a collaboration with Pivot Point last year, where we created the Green Beauty Community Guidebook. It's just a really simple, like, let's go over maybe some terms you'll see. What do those mean? Here are some ways that you can just be a little bit more conscientious of basically in your salon. Whether it's, hey, maybe look into, again, you can look into the LED lights. You can look into reusable tools. Maybe you want to get a little bit spicy and look into refillable options, for your products. There are just, again, so many ways you can get involved, but these are very, again, just basic, easy ways to kind of learn. Because we want everyone to come in no matter what level they're at. And I feel, this is, I think, my hot take is sustainability is so nuanced, and there's so many different, there's so many different ways to be better. So it doesn't matter if you've been recycling your entire life, or if you just found out that biodegradable ingredients exist. There's room for everyone at the table. So we wanted to, again, make it as easy to digest as possible and just be a good resource. Hopefully a good resource, but because it's online, it's free. Of course, you can find it through the Pivot Point website. You can find it through our website. We do update it every year just to kind of, keep it up to date. Things are changing all the time. Whether it's new resources or just kind of maybe adding on to, like, this year. So we're, in the midst of updating it. So it'll be ready for Earth Month. We're doing it in collaboration as well with the Green Spa Network, which is great. They're a nonprofit that focuses on, of course, being sustainable in spa, beauty, and they also hit hospitality, which is, I think, really important because, right, we forget that, like, spas and salons exist in hospitality at, resorts, hotels, and there's a lot of ways to, be able to be more responsible in that way. So that's really exciting. We'll have some more stuff that includes spa related information. And so that should be ready by Earth Month. And then on our website, we do have, oh gosh, I feel like we have so many different things. One of them is you can sign up to be on essentially our Green Beauty salon directory. So, if you're a sustainable salon, this is actually, Daniel's also an SEO master. So it really is supposed to help boost local salons just like in your area when you're looking for like, hey, I'm looking for a sustainable salon in Detroit, Michigan. It's going to help, kind of boost you up in Google, which is really great. And again, what does that mean? You can be, right? There's so many ways you can be sustainable depending on, what products are you using? What services are you offering? What are you doing kind of outside of just being in the salon, right? And so we have our directory. You can sign up for our newsletter. Every other week we send out the Sustainable Beauty Insider, where it just kind of talks about what's going on in the industry. Right, maybe some things you miss or it's just not really that big. So we talk about, like we talked about, the green circle salons and pivot points collaboration. We talked about right now there's the Great British cleanup going on, where they're really launching into like, how can we help people recycle their like makeup containers, and anything that's smaller than a fist or a yogurt cup usually doesn't get recycled, and a lot of beauty packaging is like that. So this is their incentive to work with that. And even just maybe I think one of them is like L'Oreal is, and a lot of other brands too are using AI to help kind of reformulate a lot of their formulas. So there's a lot of great insight, a lot of stuff then that's upcoming with us, whether it's events, whether it's partnerships or collaborations, or again, just kind of easy ways you can be sustainable. So our newsletter is really great. And then we also offer webinars twice a month. Free webinars. You can come and just we bring on a lot of really cool, interesting guests. So
how can you sign up for that?
it's again totally free. You can sign up through our website. You can sign up. We have the link on our Instagram. There is there's a lot of ways you can sign up. But yeah, come to our website. You can sign up for those. Go to our Instagram. You can sign up through there too. And those are really great. I would say my personal favorite one was back in November. We had and sorry, this is just because I'm a recycling nerd. I think like the materials of it all and like the science behind it's really interesting. But we hosted an America Recycles Day, and we had Marion from G2 Recycling. They do a lot of kind of big company recycling, like with like Aveda, Pack Collective. They like their take back boxes for, again, also like the small beauty packaging. They're like an Ulta, Sephora, and then we had Sarah from Green Circle Salons on. So like we had a great panel discussion. We've talked about the Safer Beauty Bill package from Greg Starkman, who is also the CEO of InnerSense. So again, a lot of really great conversations of just,
Hannah,
things you don't really get to find.
Hannah, is there anybody, I know like about 10 years ago, maybe, God, was it that, it probably was that long ago. About 10 years ago, people were actually like collecting like hair at hair salons because apparently it works really well for
Yes.
like oil cleanup and stuff. Is there still, I don't know what to call, an organization, I guess. Are there still organizations that are collecting like, hair for oil cleanup?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love talking about hair as a material because it's really interesting, because there's a lot of different R&D things that are being done with hair.
Okay, what does R&D mean?
What was that? Oh, sorry.
R&D.
Research and development.
Oh, got it.
I apologize.
Yeah, no way.
So Matter of Trust is actually the organization that deals with collecting hair for oil cleanups. So they make them into into either mats, or they like kind of shove them into like pantyhose basically, and they call them hair booms. But yeah, so that is, which it does, it's obviously definitely a great cheap alternative to soak up oil. Matter of Trust is, so I think they've gotten overwhelmed. So I think they still have just like a few kind of key partnerships. But they do have a hub available actually called the Sum Hub. It's the Sum organization. So it is a platform of I feel like this almost sounds kind of like weird, but people can connect on there like peer to peer, and they can say, they can sort of connect with people around them as well too, of, hey, maybe, I don't know, I need hair scraps for this, whether it's like probably an oil spill or maybe it's, something else they want to mess with, I guess. Can you send it? Can you send, your hair over here? So I was on it. I haven't been on it in a couple of years. I'm sure it's grown. But so they still work with that. They are also looking into, they have a lot of other studies of like using those, because we're hoping we don't get a lot of oil spills, right? But even like using those hair mats or those hair booms for like, for storm drains. You think of the car runoff, on the streets that's going in. That's kind of a great way to kind of like help with that a little
Like
bit.
filter through it a little bit, huh?
Yes. Yeah, it's exactly. It's a great filter. They also are working on studies or, have done a few studies of using hair for soil erosion. So, which is, huge, especially on the coast, anywhere where there's water. So like obviously Great Lakes, we're dealing with that, I'm sure over by you too, Corey. So that's really
We have
exciting.
the
So
small
there's so many
waterway called the
things.
Chesapeake Bay that everybody's trying to keep alive or sustainable there as well. That's really cool, man. Yeah, that's just cool. I always thought like, deer love my garden. If I put some human hair in there, would it keep the deer away?
Uh, it's supposed to. The only reason I say it's supposed to is if they are like used to humans, it ain't gonna work. Fortunately and unfortunately, because my partner is Snow White basically, and all the animals love him. So we have all the animals come to our yard, which is great. But like hair would not help our garden. But if they're like, not used to humans, hair is gonna be it is a great natural pest repellent for sure.
That's amazing. Gab, you got anything in wrap?
Yeah. Yes. As we wrap up, Hannah, thank you so much for chatting with us. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited for all the things that you're going to be doing, especially with like Earth Month approaching and everything. Um, do you want to let people know sort of, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but like where they can find you if they have any questions or like any other things that you want to plug as we wrap up?
Yes, so I will say we have a really fun Earth Month campaign coming up. We're calling it the Green Pledge. So it is a way for the beauty and salon industry to kind of stand together and say, "Hey, I, I want to try to make the industry more sustainable." That doesn't mean you have to do anything specific. That doesn't mean you have to, besides just be conscious and do your best to do better. But so starting April 1st, you can go to our website. You can find or any of our socials will be posting about it constantly for all of Earth Month, but you can go take the pledge. You get a social media kit so you can talk about, because part of it, right, is also just being social and vocal about it of I care. I want to be more sustainable. I am being more sustainable. This is I want to stand by this. So letting other people know that you're standing by it, as well, it kind of helps other people want to do the same thing. And it's a great way to unite brands and any industry professionals or beauty enthusiasts. So, please come take the pledge. Let's keep this going all year, even past April. And it's going to be really fun. But yeah, you can find us at our website, greenbeautycommunity.com. Our Instagram social is Green Beauty Community Foundation. Everything else is Green Beauty Community. So that's our Facebook, that's our LinkedIn. And our TikTok, I think we just kind of casually posted that. We're not huge TikTokers, but but we have it. But yeah, you can find us there.
That's awesome. And selflessly, and I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast at all, Gabby, but in July, I am heading to Cambodia. I'm working with an organization called Hair Aid, and what Hair Aid does,
Oh,
they teach current and former sex workers and people in poverty how to cut hair. Not to be hyperbolic, but just to give their futures options, right? Like a lot of, from my understanding, a lot of them just don't have a lot of options. So it kind of gives them options for their future. However, with that being said, I am collecting any kind of like capes, and they can be secondhand capes. So like if you get all new capes and you have no place to put your capes, please reach out to me in my DMs at Hairdustry. I will gladly take them from you, and I will gladly. My goal is to get a giant suitcase and to fill it with a bunch of giveaways, which are like capes. And we're looking. I know the organization is looking for capes and shears and combs, and and it all can be secondhand. Again, it's going to a third world nation that just needs a break. So anything that you can send over, I will gladly pack my bag and take it over. I'm pretty excited about it. I can't wait to get out there to Cambodia, and I'm really looking forward to supporting Hair Aid in the only way that I kind of know how, and that's just to kind of show up. And even if you're interested in Hair Aid, we've done a few podcasts on it, or reach out to me. I'd love to chat with you about it. I'm pretty excited about going. And certainly reach out to me after July when I get back, and I'll let you know. I'll let you know all the nitty gritty of it. But yeah, once again, if you're gonna replace anything, and it's a working order, don't send me a cape with no snaps or anything like that. There's not a lot of resource to fix it there. But anything that I think I've said it. That's awesome. Hannah, thank you so much for taking the time and joining us, and just thank you for hanging out and upping our knowledge on the green beauty community and everything that you guys are up to. And thank you very, very much for joining us on your day off.